In this lesson, we're going to touch on open states. Now, these are awesome. I really like open states. And if you want a little bit of background as to how open states work or what they are, understand that much of the great capacities and capabilities of the fractal run off of what's called a support vector machine. Now, that might sound extremely technical, and it is, but essentially a support vector machine is a machine learning algorithm. This is not your normal off the shelf historical data stuff. This is a machine learning algorithm based tool that runs in the fractal that helps for classifying regression tasks and whether or not something belongs to a particular category. So for classification tasks and regression tasks. Really encourage you to look into this. It's super, super cool. But if you look at algebraic logic or logic gates, signals and systems and processing, there's a point where particular things will change into another state. They will transfer over to behaving differently. Think about it this way. There are times where you're hungry and there are times where you're hangry. There is a state change. And to classify that state change, there are certain parameters. They might be different between you and me, what makes you go from hungry to hangry, but the support vector machine can help calculate that regarding price action in the market. Not that it becomes hungry or hangry, but where it will reach a target and basically become classified as satisfied, or could I say as complete in a cycle. So think about it in those terms, in terms of like when the market goes from, if I could say, hungry to hangry, or hangry to content. So many times the market, the fractal will calculate for us when you turn on the open states feature, which I'll show you right here. Graph settings, turn on SR dots, state machine. State machine. So a state machine is running within the support vector machine to help us to see when the market goes from a cycle that has not fulfilled its target to having fulfilled its target, which actually gives us insight, therefore, to possible reversions that can occur in the market. This is very, very cool when you start looking at this and visualizing it. So if I could just continue the illustration, open states help us to see when the market goes from being hangry to content, belly full, right? So once we cross the pivot, these values and sustain above the pivot or below will serve as our open states, and you see it's indicated by the price and open. Then the number that's in the brackets shows us the amount of days that that open state has been there. And in fact, the more days that an open state is open and not closed, meaning hangry, belly full, then the higher probability over time it becomes appealing, right? So think about it where open states serve as targets and possible areas of reversion, especially when there's what's called stacked open states. They serve really, really well. You could stack or get confluence of open states with clustered imprints and a probability bin and a last line of defense. It's you know, chart that out, watch it, and then execute accordingly. Very helpful information. You can see there's multiple targets that you can detect based off of the last 200 days wave 1 daily. You can do this for any time frame. I'm just going to do the 1 minute wave 50. According to the last 2 days, let's do last 3 days. 1 minute candlesticks. wave 50, I have these open states. So sometimes our market open, people use the wave 10, 1 minute, to get some. Look at this. That's so cool. We are preparing for a breakout. Use wave 10, 1 minute. You use the wave 20, 5 minute as well. Wave 7, 5 minute. Very cool stuff for like shorter time frames as it updates every minute on something like QQQ, not futures. But you can use these for targets. Very helpful, in fact. And so look for confluence of the open states with other tools of the fractal. And remember, if there's stacked open states, it's kind of like, more nice things from the buffet being closer to each other when you're hangry. It's like the more you see, the more you want it. So that's essentially how open states work. When they're closer together, they serve as even more confluence that the market will try to target that once it crosses a pivot. You could set it as a target. Now what happens is that when the state changes from open to closed upon the market reaching that point, the fractal will evaluate whether or not that open state has been closed. And many times that requires a little bit of an overshoot because of the mechanics of the algorithm and just how market volatility works. Essentially, we can sometimes get a test, a little bit of a pullback, and then an overshoot, and then reversion. Because the mathematics, the machine learning that goes underneath the hood, then it has to, when states change, many times there has to be a little bit of an overshoot in order for a proper state change from open to closed. So I hope that helps. Very cool information, especially when it aligns with bands. And it doesn't always align with bands as you see here, but you can use it for confluence. So I hope that helps regarding open states. Just mess around with seeing open states across different tickers. Very, very powerful stuff. So enjoy.